And that's where having this information centralized is really helpful. And communication is so important.
Hi there, and welcome back to the Trust Exchange podcast series, proudly presented by Norway Savings Asset Management Group. And without further ado, we're going to go around the table and say hello to everyone.
Hi, I'm Barbara Kaw. I am a trust officer and relationship manager with AMG. I've been with the department now for a year, but I have over 20 years of wealth management experience.
Hello, I am Keysha Wright. I am a trust officer and relationship manager, and I've been with Norway Savings Bank since about 2019.
Hi, I'm Brian Bernier. I've been with Norway for 27 years, 12 years working in the asset management group, and I'm a certified financial planner and an investment officer as well.
Today's subject is getting your affairs in order.
So I think this is something that's really essential for people to have and for them to talk about to their family members, because this is something where when sudden things happen, you have a place to go to reference what to do next. So this death book or death box, or in my personal case, my mom had a big red bag that we would use, and she would inform me of all the documents what bank accounts that she had, where I would need to go, who I would need to contact, what lawyers she used, if there was a power of attorney documents or anything like that.
Yeah, and the whole premise of this, Barbara, is to ease the burden on your loved ones here.
Yes, that's true. Now, we had a client who passed away, and he had a business, and the problem was his wife didn't have the passwords for his computer. And it wasn't written down anywhere. So all the company files are on this computer. What is she to do? She had to go into her personal account to pay for the employees until she could figure this out. And that's the case for many of these things. If you have them written down somewhere, if we know who the attorney is and the accountant, we try to keep some of this stuff on file for our clients. We know who their attorney is, where their accountant is. We have a copy of their will. We have a copy of their power of attorney. But all these stuff need to be shared with family members.
How does one put this together? I mean, where do we start here?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's pretty overwhelming to most people when you say, hey, can you just organize everything and have it ready to hand off it when you pass? That's a lot to ask. There are tools out there. We're referring to as a death book or whatnot. I think Knockbox is actually a product, an actual name of one. But effectively, what you want to do is start putting together an inventory of your assets and think about the things that you would want to pass on. And those are the things that you need to be accounting for in this. If you buy something like use a Knockbox, or you buy a book that's built for this, it's going to really spell out for you what you need and what you should be capturing. Insurance, back to, if maybe you have an antique car or something, you have it insured. Where do you have it insured, and how do you get a hold, how do you reach that agent? So having that kind of information all pulled together is really what's important. The more, what I tell people when I'm working with people as they're trying to organize this is, you're probably not going to be able to do this in one setting, and nor should you try to. Start putting things together and know that it's ongoing. And, what do they say? The only constant in life is change, right? Yeah. So as things change, you're going to have to go back in and update it. And that can get a little bit tedious. There's no doubt about it. Keeping this, it's not a one-time build this book out and forget about it. You've got to make sure you're updating it as things change. Maybe you sold that antique car now. So, you wanted to get that out of there.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. It's a process, a long process. So you have your checklist. So what are some common steps here, Keysha, to consider when you're getting your affairs in order? I know you have things like plan for your estate and finances, a will. So what else can we do to delve into this a little deeper now?
I think it's always good to double check your beneficiaries on your accounts as well and understand, when you're checking your inventory of assets, do you already have a plan in place for those direct beneficiaries? Or do you have something listed on your IRA? Do you have something listed as at a time of death for your accounts? Is somebody a beneficiary or on your safety deposit box? I would also suggest maybe bringing in a family member or something and talk to them about this early on. Even if your list isn't complete, at least they can have an idea of where you're starting from, so they can look at everything and understand, if you pass suddenly, they have some kind of door or direction to go through.
If you can have it all in one place, that's excellent. But you also want to share parts of it with us, such as your trust, your will, your power of attorney, so that we can help the family when time arises.
How do you keep everything secure here? How do we do that?
So there's a few different ways you can do that. One of the most common ones is a safe deposit box that we offer in our branches. A lot of folks have those. Another way you can do it is right at home. People use a safe, a fireproof safe. Those come in all different sizes and shapes, and you can look at that as to what suits your needs.
So, during this transition, which of course is, difficult for many and everybody for that matter, what about the transition from that grieving to reeling everything to you, having access to everything?
So that's a great question. When you're putting this together, I will tell you, as the person who's putting together this list of assets, what do I have? You're thinking about, how am I going to make it easier on probably my kids or whoever it is that's going to be having to deal with it. And it's really a great way to be that considerate for them, thinking I'm going to be gone. But now on the flip side, so we have clients who pass, and then their kids are handed this book, if you will, or this list of assets. They're having emotional feelings, certainly, about losing a parent or loved one, and we are able to help them. They're going to ask us questions such as, what should I be doing with these? I didn't realize Mom and Dad had these assets in a trust. What does that mean? What do I do? And it's a really great feeling as a team at Norway to be able to work with these beneficiaries, these kids, the family, help them understand how it's going to transition, and help them, how do I even reach out to find out how to get these things and to bring them all together. And that's something that we take a lot of pride in, being able to do that with them, because that's how close we are to the families.
Which documents should you have in place to help with this transition here?
So a copy of the will, a copy of the trust if they have, if it's appropriate if they have that. POA documents, so we know who has access, who can speak for them or who can transact on their accounts. Medical power of attorney, any other healthcare directives, different lists of accounts that they might have at different banks, beneficiaries to different retirement accounts. If they have a safe deposit box, maybe if there's any information on that. Usually an inventory of maybe if they've got different email addresses and different things on their computers that they might, certain files and things that would be good to know at that time.
One thing we got to make sure is you keep updating this list. It's not a one-shot deal. And with beneficiaries, you make sure you revisit that every few years, because if someone dies, if you lose your spouse, but you keep them on there, or you get a divorce, you don't want to leave everything to your ex.
So it's important to update and also review.
Yeah, we every year when we're meeting with clients, at least annually, we're talking to them about beneficiaries and making sure that they've updated the beneficiaries that we have on file. And it's really nice just to kind of underscore the importance of getting this to us ahead of time, while things are good, while you're in that planning stage. The moment something happens, when maybe if it's parents who get sick, and now one or more than one of the kids have power of attorney, if we have that power of attorney on file and those parents are our clients, it is so much easier on the kids. They're dealing with mom or dad or both sick and maybe dying, and they just need to call. We already know they're the power of attorney. We have it. We've met them, so we know what's going on. As opposed to, while you're dealing with all this is, it's really hard, we know that, but can you go find this power of attorney and get it to us? And until you do, we can't talk to you. And it's just it's so much better when we can have that put together ahead of time and have that in our hands ahead of time.
Yeah, peace of mind is so important. Do you have examples of working with people who have been provided peace of mind through your dealings? Yeah,
we Barbara and I actually have a client where it was someone, he was sick and passed very quickly, and his longtime partner, they did get married, but together for a long time. We met with her right at the end, and it was just going to his service. You could see he it was a very quick passing. Having her power of attorney, having things in place ahead of time, she literally just called. She just said, hey, the reason he hasn't gotten back to you yet is he passed away. And we had everything all ready to go. And she's dealing with setting up the funeral service. She's dealing with the family. She's dealing with all kinds of things. And Barbara and I are part, as with the rest of our team, just right there saying, you just tell us when you're ready. We have all the investments, the accounts they're all set. We know what to do, and tell us when you're ready to do it. And it just took such a load off her mind so she could focus on the family.
Yeah, it's a very gratifying feeling, isn't it, Barbara, in that capacity? I mean, knowing you helped somebody in their greatest time of need.
Oh, yes. Yes, it does. And it strengthens the relationship. And she knows she can call us on anything, and she does. So it's a very sad time, but it's a time for us to connect.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, communication is so key with everybody here, and serving as a fiduciary, you have everyone's best interest. And in a sense, we've been talking about in this podcast series, it's really what has separated Norway Savings Bank from other FIs in the sense that you have this ability to work with these people in this capacity, almost in this human emotional level here as well.
I think that's true. I think we've developed wonderful relationships with our clients, and I think we all care deeply for our clients.
We'll go around the room here, and we'll get your final thoughts here on what we should be taking away from this here. We went through a lot, but in summation, Barbara?
Get your affairs in order. Have everything that you've written down somewhere. Have it in a secure place. Let somebody in your family know where it is. If you can provide the will, copy of the trust, copy of your power of attorney with your financial advisor, so they have it on hand so that they will be able to step in and help out when they need to.
I think that it's important to remember that you can start today, that it's never too late. You don't have to wait until someone's sick or something is happening right in front of you. You can go start doing things right now. And, you are just preparing for those that you love in the future.
Yeah, starting immediately is fantastic. I think really you want to remember it's an ongoing process. You're going to update it. You're going to change it. You don't have to do it all at once. The more you work on it over time, it will just be more thorough, more comprehensive. And always feel free to call us. Ask us. We're your team. We're here for you. We're as fiduciaries. We're looking out for you. And ask us for any kind of feedback or thoughts on what you might be putting together, and we'd love to work with you on that.
5 very important words: getting your affairs in order. Thanks, everybody, for this great, very informative, in-depth, and necessary conversation about this here. So thanks to everyone here, and thanks for tuning in to the Trust Exchange podcast series, proudly sponsored by Norway Savings Asset Management Group, AMG. We'll see you in our next podcast edition.